Here's my early gas Russian Jeep. I guess call it small scene or vignette, display, whatever you want to call it. It started out that I bought the early Tamiya. That kit was made in the 70s. It's really old Tamiya kit. And I saw it really cheap, so I just picked it up. And it had been sitting in my stash for a long time. And then one day I was like, man, I want to put it in early war. Well, you know, everybody's like, oh, they weren't built till 1943, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, well, let me just research. So I researched and I researched and I researched. Finally, I started finding some photos of an early gas Russian Jeep. So they did make them early. And the most important thing on it was some rounded fenders in the front. And when I say important, it's what you really notice. And then some of the rear fender welds were really simple. And there was a few other things, and I was like, okay, well, I can do this kind of early. So I started just converting the Jeep. I wanted to do a Russian Jeep that was captured because I found two really, really cool photos. And I was like, oh, wow, yeah, I'm gonna do it German, captured. This is exactly what I want. And I started converting it. I did the fenders in the front out of a soda can tin, which I just cut the tin off of a soda can and tried to form it into those fenders. Well, I started working. It's like, oh, well, it just didn't look right. So I said, I gotta make lemonade out of lemons. So I put the Jeep into a situation where it was really destroyed in combat. And the Russian winter had moved in, slowed everything down for the Germans. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna cover all my mistakes, all my shortcomings in snow. And I'm going to finish this thing one way or another. So I built this base, and the base itself is just a plastic pencil holder, believe it or not. But I needed a base for the epoxy putty Sculpey. So I just put styrofoam in there and worked it a little bit just to give it some height on one side. After that, I placed the Jeep, see how I liked it. And then I put the Magic Sculpey down, 2 parts Magic Sculpey, and set the Jeep into it. Now, you know, of course I textured the Sculpey and kind of sculpted some groundwork, but I knew I was gonna put snow all over it, so I wasn't concerned on the look of the groundwork. So once this was on, then I sprayed the whole thing black. The whole thing was sprayed black. I then said, okay, I gotta do some more covering up of my shortcomings. And I made some tarps out of Magic Sculpt as well. Draped those on. And you can see them here and here. So I was like, oh, okay. So I got that done. Then I started airbrushing some Russian green colors on. Get some life into it. Everything was painted, finished. I weathered the whole vehicle, as I do all my other weathering, with artist oil wash with terpenoid and then maybe some pastels, things like that. I mean, these videos, there is so much information on weathering these days and so much products for weathering that you could do it a lot of different ways and they'd all come out great. It's the way I did it, and the way I've been doing it is pretty simple. So then I was like, okay, we're gonna do the snow. The snow is my baking soda, white glue, and water. And I painted it on. Then I was like, okay, gotta have a figure. First I was gonna have maybe some figures running by it or something. And I was like, I had this figure from Dragon that I was like, kept looking at it and kept looking at it, and I'd seen photos of it in magazines or books, and he really represented a lot of those photos of a very, very cold German, dejected in the winter. And I knew by looking at his coat it would be a really easy but effective look to paint. So I put him together and I stuck him on there, and I was like, yeah, this is gonna look good once he's painted. So he's all painted in acrylics, more of my practice on acrylics to get some blending and shading done. And the other real bonus is you can't see his face that well. So without seeing his face, it's even easier to paint, right? Faces are make or break of figures, it seems like. I think the other second thing would be camouflage. But if you can get the face right, man, the rest of the figure always seems to fall into place. And over here, there's a little bit of that moss, just to give it a little bit of life. And that's it. The decals on the helmet, it's a little thing sometimes that make a big deal. These are decals that I bought a set of, and you can also get them in the Tamiya has a set of them, but there's other companies that just sell the helmet decals, and they really make a difference. Just little tiny things like that pop out sometimes more than anything else. So I try to put those as much as possible when appropriate and correctly. And that's it. It's just was a very fun small scene to do. I'd been inspired by a lot of modelers who've been doing extreme bases with vehicles and extreme positions and weather and groundwork, things like that nature. So I had to get my fill of it. So I did this one. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more of my step-by-step videos.